What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to Living Life Fast. Today is the start of the M5 build. Let me tell you how excited I am, guys. It's going down today. If you follow me on Instagram, you already know the engine's been removed. Imran, you done me dirty, bro. You done me dirty. Guys, listen, you see man like Imran, yeah? He's just moving stingy with the content. He's trying to keep it for himself. But to be fair, I did jump on Imran's bandwagon. I'm only joking, by the way, guys. If you're new to the channel, highly recommend checking out some of the previous videos of Automotive. They are like the leaders in BMW tuning in the UK. But anyway, cut long story short, we're going to go say hello to Imran, and I'm going to introduce you to the people that are going to be building the S63 engine. It's a shutdown, people. It is a shutdown, I'm telling you. What are you saying, Imran?
Good, man. How are you?
You good? Still going off it, man. What's our turbos and engines in there?
On the truck.
Massive, man. Update, Imran.
Is the engine's out of your car, gearbox is out of your car, engine is stripped,
Yeah.
and we're ready to build it back up again now. We don't have any customers coming in today.
Yeah. This is Ricky week, yeah?
This is Ricky.
Special privilege for Ricky. Oh,
That's your bare block.
Lord.
These are all the parts that are going to go in your engine. The hybrid turbos,
Yeah.
so 3076Rs in the stock housings, Carrillo rods, CP pistons,
Whoa.
and King bearings. So exactly the same setup that I'm having,
Yeah.
basically. And then obviously the third car as well, which everyone keeps asking us about. Who's the third car that's getting built?
Unknown.
This person's not on social media or anything, doesn't want his car on video, so he's just a guy who likes to go fast, I guess.
Gearbox out? No, it's your exhaust, isn't it?
That's my exhaust, Super Sprint. Your IPE is not here yet.
Imran's just swapping
It's
parts
somewhere.
over, innit?
You had a lower mileage than mine, so I swapped around while we were here. It's not a problem.
Oh shit, you seen this guy, isn't it? No engine gang. Boy. 5,000
Many
mile
bits.
old M5.
And you can see the difference between like my heads and your heads. Like mine was very well used.
Come on, Raza, bro.
Just an intro.
Come on, doll.
Come.
Say Raza.
So this is Raza. Let me introduce him. He's a bit shy. So he's the
Nah,
guy.
man, he's all right.
He's the guy behind the engine build. So RK Autowerkes is Raza's company. I've known Raza for maybe 10 years, since E39 days. He's progressed into doing S63s.
You two look similar as well.
No, I'm much better looking.
Family, man.
I'm much better looking. Anyway, so he's become like an expert in S63 engine build. So when it was time for me to do it, I knew I was going to get him to come over. So he's been over here for the last couple of days working with Aston and Hash. So hopefully impart a bit of knowledge so we can carry on.
Yeah. Raza, man, come on, bro. Spill the beans. Couple of hours, engine's out already?
It takes us about 3 to 4 hours to drop an engine if we're fully set up. So a couple hours to drop the motor. So with your M5, we've done the forged rods, forged pistons. The crankshaft's been rebalanced to accept all of this, the rotating assembly. You can't just take pistons and rods and stuff them in a car.
Okay.
So this has been reset to do that. We have our own ring pack that we use, so you can't just go online and buy this. We have a ring set up for our setup.
Okay.
Bearings are all coated. They're all King bearings, so they're not factory bearings. The issue with these cars is that factory bearings end up going bad real easy. So we've readjusted the bearings, and then we've also readjusted the clearances on the crank. So the stock setup you see all the time, they spin rod bearings, main bearings. We've kind of gotten away from that. So the crank itself is stock in the terms of it's a stock crank, but it's been modified.
Was it micro polished?
Yeah, so it's micro polished. So you can, from the factory, the crank, it's not like it's bad or anything. You just have levels that you can take it. So we took it further to where it's extremely smooth. The oil has more area to transfer on there. You have, basically it's a small film. So the more oil you have sitting on it, the less friction you have, the less metal to metal contact. Yeah. That's what ruins it. So with your build, you want to go full power on it. We want to get as much out of it as possible. The factory, they're trying to get fuel economy and emissions. We're not worried about that, so we want to get everything we can. So we've gone the other direction with clearances, which sets you up to have the best chance not to spin a bearing or anything of that sort.
And then the balancing is to counter the
balance is the counterweight for the aftermarket rods and pistons. If you don't do that, you feel the vibration.
Right.
So it's like if you had a misfire, it's slight juddering that you'll feel. This makes it to where it's really smooth. It also helps it spin faster. The turbos, these are stock turbo framing, so it's a 7 AR, and I believe this is a 0.66 AR. Stock housings, but they've been modified. As you can see, we weld on a flange on here, so we can put a Garrett 3076 GTX cartridge on there. Okay. This allows you to have everything look stock. So for the guys worried about taking it to the dealership or anyone knowing, once your car goes back together, you can't tell, everything bolts right on. We have our stage 2 upgrade that we're going to get you on as soon as we have those out, which will have the casted housing. The casted housing will have a larger AR, which more flow. This setup runs out around 30, which is 30 psi, which will be around 1,000 to 1,075 horsepower. Okay. Your stage 2 setup, which will be around 1,200 to 1,300 horsepower.
Wow.
We haven't had any leave with less than that. So this car it makes around 850 to 900 foot-pounds of torque, around 2,500 to 3,000 RPM.
Wow.
And then peak power is anywhere from 850 to 900, depending on ignition, fueling, but they're all 1,000 brake.
Man,
Minimum 1,000 brake. So we've had guys like yourself who want to go further, which is the casted housing, and that'll get you to the level 2.
Just to confirm, engine's good, like for what?
Engine's good.
1500,
Engine's good for 1,500. So after this, there's really not much you can do. You could reinforce your transmission a little bit, increase the pressure, but most of the car is pretty solid other than that. Along with this, what we don't have pictured here is the methanol kit, and what that does is it lowers your intake temperature. Okay. So this way, when you're running and it's hot outside, the temperature is controlled, you don't have pre-ignition. Yeah. I think we run right around ambient, so it's whatever the temperature is outside, usually what it's at wide open throttle.
You've already stripped the engine, right?
Yeah, this engine is stripped down. We've got the engine broken down. This is an alley steel block. We don't modify the block in any way. Ricky's block that we use here, this one had no damage, it was low mileage, so there's no reason to mess with it. We clean it up, make sure everything's good, check the bores, measure everything out, everything's in spec, we put it all back together. So the bare block and the girdle is all kept stock.
Okay, and you mentioned you did some head work to your own car, right?
Yeah, we do head work on our cars. On my personal M5, we've done a CNC 5-axis on there. We've seen gains from it, but unless you start really pushing the car, you don't really see a whole lot. So we didn't want you on that for now. If you want to later on, we can. Yeah. We also have valve springs coming out soon for the car.
Possibly could be some valve float you mentioned.
You might have valve float, but we've so far up to like 34, 35 psi haven't seen it, and that's where these turbos run out. So you shouldn't need that.
What's next then? So engine's out, what are you gonna do right now?
So with the engine out all cleaned up, we're gonna take all the parts you see on the table, install all of them into this engine. So once those parts are installed, you've got the cylinder heads down there. We're gonna have the cylinder heads installed, have it a long block, so it'll look just like that engine over there. Okay. Following that, we've got all the pieces for the accessories and whatnot, the intake manifold, you'll see them on the tables over there. All of those parts will be installed on here. The driveline and all that will be put back on the car, back on the cradle, and then we'll put the car back in and install the methanol kit.
Cool. And what kind of time is that?
We'll probably have yours done by the end of the day.
Wow.
So end of the day tomorrow, so a day or two.
Please do me a good tune, innit?
No, your tune's gonna be like ultra safe.
Oh, I just want a fast daily, man.
Yeah, your car might be faster than mine.
Bro, I don't want to blow that engine, man.
No, you're not gonna blow. That's the whole point of forging it.
A mile, boy.
On a daily level, you just run like pump fuel and meth like you're doing on your M4. Yeah. And then for VMAX, do what we do and you basically run race fuel. Yeah. Yeah, and then just switch them up.
Nobody killed that, yeah?
Yeah, that's why it's the same thing that I do.
So your guy, he don't mess about, does he?
No, he's just straight in. I picked him up from the airport on Monday morning at 8:30, 9 o'clock. Yeah. Brought him back here from Heathrow. We had breakfast. He's like, yeah, let's go. I go, do you want to go to a hotel, get showered? No, let's get to work. Came in, started, that's it, started. Had both engines out, like with Hash and Aston on the same day. Took a nap in the back of your car.
Charging the rim, bro. I want some peas. But what you reckon, into the force now,
yeah, definitely into the force,
isn't it? Yeah, that's for me.
It's how far into
I'm
the
happy.
force are we going?
Yeah. But for me, I'm happy to be in the force because my M4 was doing like a 5.36. But that was the fastest ever I did.
Yeah, like the glory.
Yeah, like bro, like my average was like
5.5.
Bro, like 5.6 probably. Yeah. Like,
if I go to, I said I'd done a 5.26, but at VMAX, if I look at my 100 to 200 times, which are not even dedicated ones, they're just from a launch, right? Yeah. 5.5, 5.5, 5.5.
Consistent.
Like every single time,
VMAX as well, we're going to be hitting it up?
Yeah, hopefully. So next VMAX is on the 26th of September, which is a couple of weeks from now. Yeah. So the aim is to have the engines back in running and tuned ready for that VMAX. And then the next one after that is 22nd of October, I think. So I'm not sure if the new turbos are going to be ready by then. but if they are, great. If not, it just means that next year, when VMAX comes around, we'll be running even more power than this year.
You're trying to flex on us then, man. You've been training, innit,
I've
bro?
been training every day.
Bro, you're looking dense, man.
Putting piston rings that have already been filed onto the pistons before we install the rods.
What would you say about the chassis itself, like drive shafts and gearbox as well?
So the ZF Tran's the same one you'll find in the Demons and the Hellcats. So in the US, we've got guys running over 1,000 horsepower in those. That's not the issue. You usually run into issues with the gearbox whenever you start to trick it. So if you're running a JB4, or if the car thinks it's making 600 horsepower, but it's really only making, if it's really making 1,000 horsepower and the car thinks it's only making 600,
right,
that's the issue. So you run into problems when you start doing that to the car. That's the gearbox issue. So far we haven't run into any gearbox issues, so we're not too worried. Differential, trans case, none of that stuff we've really run into any issues with so far. But in the situation that we do have a few options for people that want to upgrade that, where they can upgrade the transmission, increase the line pressure, differential can be built, the drive shaft can be reinforced. All of that's an option, but so far we've never really needed it, even on our personal car.
So 1,000 horsepower, you ain't getting any strain on the gearbox,
No.
Funny shifting?
No funny shifting, no overheating, shifts like stock. For those of the people that have driven these cars, they know how aggressive the gearbox is on this car. It slams the gears in.
Yeah.
It's still really smooth. It doesn't have any issues. It doesn't blink.
Drive shafts?
Drive shafts,
Because
no.
the F10 snapped, didn't they? You do it uprated for the...
The F10s, so the thing that's different with these cars versus the F10 is the F10, it's rear wheel drive, so you end up putting a lot of power through just the rear wheels. Here you're transferring it through the whole car, so the front's getting a distribution of it.
Yeah.
So in a sense, it's not seeing all of it like an F10 would. So the F90, you actually put less power through the drive shaft because of that reason. So it's only seeing 60%, 70%. It's not seeing 100%.
So the F10s that do snap, is that when they're using grippy tires? Because I would have thought they would have just spun anyway.
It's when you launch it. When
you
guys
launch it.
are launching the cars, they don't like to be launched. You'll ruin a rear diff brace and stuff like that. They've redone the bracing on these cars to where they're completely a whole new design.
Right.
So there really is no rear diff brace. The differential is mounted directly to the chassis. So it's really stout. It's all around, dollar for dollar, very solid car from factory. Finished up putting the rods, pistons, crankshaft in the engine. We're just about done with the short block. We've got Aston over there cleaning the oil pan. We're gonna put the oil pan on the car for today. Oil pan will be done. Tomorrow we're gonna start off with the top end of the block, so we'll get from short block to a long block, and then the accessories. So we'll be at where Hashi was today with the other project.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. We'll follow up with you guys tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, I'll be back in the morning. You know what I mean? I'm an early one as well, man.
We'll be here at 9. You'll be here at 8:30.
I'll be here before that, innit, Imran?
Yeah, he'll be here at 8 o'clock.
Yeah, trust me. I love the
before
mornings.
you tell him, hour before you tell him.
He's on brown time. He's on brown time. All right. He's brown time. All right.
No,
You'll be here
I'm
7:30.
here. I'm here. Look, man, nice to meet you today.
Likewise,
And
man.
I'll see you in the morning. Cool, Imran.
Okay, peace out.
See you tomorrow. Right, so guys, I'm going to end the video there. You've now met Raza. The guy's clearly got a wealth of knowledge, especially when it comes to the M5 platform. It's just crazy to think that we can almost use stock parts. Like, obviously the engine's getting forged, we're changing the turbos, but everything else is stock. Like, you know, we don't need to swap drive shafts, we don't need to mess with the gearbox. Apparently I'm gonna have a pretty reliable M5, although, you know, you heard me question it to Imran about I hope it don't blow up, but Raza's done countless builds and it seems like he hasn't run into any problems as of yet. So yeah, guys, I'm gonna try and document as much of this build as I can, but I'm telling you, this thing's gonna be over before I even know. It's probably gonna be onto tuning like in the next couple of days. So yeah, I will be back here in the morning and I'll continue documenting as much of this build as I can. So guys, I'm gonna go, yeah? Thanks for watching, bye.